What's up, everybody? This is Rob Yang, and I'm going to talk about why people become vegetarians. And in my practice, I find that people choose to be a vegetarian for three different reasons. And one is because of their religious belief. Two, they don't want to be cruel to animals, they don't want to be inhumane to animals. And then the third reason is because they want to simply be healthier, which is a great reason. I'm not going to delve into the religious beliefs because if you have a religious belief, I'm not here to change your religious beliefs, but I do want to go into the other two reasons, one being the cruelty to animals. And I wholeheartedly agree with those of you that are against the inhumane treatment of animals, cows being fed, in feedlots, in unsanitary environments. You have hen houses with thousands of chickens living underneath, a roof, no windows, no sunlight, no exercise, fed inappropriate foods. They're living in their poop. They get sick often because it's unsanitary environments. They get tons of antibiotics. And of course, we don't want to eat that and we don't want to promote that. And I agree with that approach. But you also have the other side where you have responsible farmers that actually grow the cattle appropriately, feed them grass all year long. They allow chickens to free range and roam appropriately, eat insects, be a chicken essentially, and they're raised humanely. You have the benefits of higher omega-3s in the eggs and higher omega-3s in the grass-fed beef and CLA and good saturated fats in them. And you may say to yourself, well, Rob, I do agree with that. They're more humane and they're treating the animals well, but I just can't go to the fact that you're actually killing an animal, you're slaughtering an animal. And my response to that is that then you shouldn't be eating plants because plants have feelings. No. Whoa, Rob's saying plants have feelings. Rob must be going crazy. I'm not going crazy. If you look at the research and if you actually read a book, and I have it right here, it's called The Secret Life of Plants by the Tompkins and Bird. They actually give you hardcore research here in the Soviet Union they did in the 70s of how they actually look at the electrical impulses of plants, and as you take a plant and you try to put it in a boiling water, it actually has feelings. It actually cries the same way a human would, and they document this research. And they all document all sorts of other sorts of information about how plants have feelings, and they have ESP and all kinds of other things. So really, that's not a good argument to become a vegetarian, because then essentially, if you're taking that argument of being cruel to animals, and you have to also carry that over to plants, and that's not realistic because then you have nothing to eat. Essentially, just drink water, and that's not very practical. And the other thing is that if you're a vegetarian and if you don't support organic farming, because I've met plenty of vegetarians that don't support organic farming, then that is also being cruel to the plant in one way. Because if you don't support organic farming, then that means you are supporting, by default, regular farming methods, which basically, conventional farming methods, which basically pour tons of chemicals, fungicides, herbicides, chemicals, fertilizers on the plants, and that's actually being cruel to the plants because now they basically can't survive well. They don't get nourished properly because there's nothing basically in the soil except for chemicals, and there's no vitamins and minerals. So I hope that lays to rest the issue of being cruel to animals and that whole argument, because really you're being cruel to plants as well. Now, the other reason people become vegetarian is because they want to be healthy, which is honorable. It's great because you're actually taking responsibility for your health. Now, some things to consider with switching to a vegetarian diet is that I find in my practice is people will switch to a vegetarian diet because they think it's healthier, and what they end up doing is they end up feeling actually better, which makes sense because one, you're eating more plant products, mean more fiber, more vitamins and minerals, so you're going to probably have better bowel movements. You're going to have less antioxidants running through your body and free radical damage happening, because you're having more antioxidants from the vitamins and the minerals and from the plant products, the phytonutrients. But the other side of that people don't understand is that when someone goes on any sort of structured nutrition plan, whether it's a diet, a zone diet or a Pritikin diet, which is basically a low fat, low protein, low high carb diet, is that you're taking away all the processed foods, the crap foods, the coffee, the teas, the sodas, the sports drinks, the alcohol, processed foods. So if you take away all that stuff, you're gonna feel better. And what I constantly see in my practice is over the months as someone stays on a vegetarian diet, they feel initially better because they took all the crap out. So they're actually taking stress away from their body. And then as they go along, maybe 6 months into the program, 9 months, then they start getting symptoms. And some of those symptoms are simple, just like with blood sugar control. So they're having sugar cravings are a huge problem with vegetarians because one, they don't get enough fat because they're avoiding fat, and they're also avoiding animal proteins, which actually help satiate your body. The other thing is that they also get tired and fatigued. One of the things that you're always missing in a vegetarian diet is you're missing actually iron levels because you're not eating any sort of animal products. Other things that happen is that their mood swings. They have mood swings, anxiety. Their mood is not stable because their blood sugar is not stable. They start searching and eating more processed carbohydrates because they're searching for more energy. Other things that happen is that the actual recovery from exercise is not there. So what ends up happening is you're exercising, you're actually physically breaking down skeletal muscle mass, you're actually breaking down connective tissue, which needs to be rebuilt with amino acids. And that is essentially what's missing in a lot of the vegetarian diet. And then the last thing that really happens that I see quite often is you may have someone that's really active and they're following a vegetarian plan, and they frankly have a lot of body fat. So they end up losing lean body mass because they can't support that lean body mass because of lack of amino acids from their diet, and they actually start laying down lots of body fat because of an overconsumption of carbohydrates. So if you have any of these symptoms, it's a good idea to start adding back some of these animal proteins, animal products. And you don't have to go full bore and be a full carnivore. I know some people just have a aversion to red meats, grass-fed meat or lamb, any of the red meats. But you can simply just start adding things like whole eggs in the morning or at night. You can add things like some lean turkey slices or turkey breast. Fish would be a great source. Of course, wild salmon and all the wild fishes, and even some light turkey breasts. Those seem to be the easiest forms that vegetarians can start eating in the beginning, and then they can start transitioning maybe to the heavier red meat type products. And if you do feel better by adding some of these animal proteins, that's the telltale sign that you need to get away from vegetarianism and start adding some animal products. Now, it may not be adding, beef ribeye steaks and, bison burgers and going full bore the other way, but it could be just, again, simply just adding a few bits of proteins throughout the day, and you'll feel significantly better. I hope that helps you understand why people choose to become a vegetarian and how you can actually deter some of those symptoms I talked about earlier by start adding some of these simple animal food products to your diet so that you can start feeling better and being less symptomatic.